Hello, Geek Army. It is D bringing you another exciting edition of Epitome of Geekdom QNA, where I answer your questions about everybody's favorite topic, Dragon Ball, especially in the year 2015 when, as others have said, and they are correct, I believe we are in a Dragon Ball renaissance. But of course, with these Q&As, the questions don't have to be about Dragon Ball. They could be about whatever, as Corey proved last week. So let's get into it, because we have a lot of questions, and I don't know how many I'm going to get to. If I can't get to all of them, we'll do another video for a future edition. But let's see how many I can get to here before the show goes too long. The first question I'm going to tackle here today is from Young Savage. Is Beerus Power exaggerated? I'm not really sure what you mean by exaggerated, but if you think he's overpowered, it's a possibility. However, with Dragon Ball Z Fakatsu no F, warning, spoiler, it looks like Goku and Vegeta may have caught up or at least come close to catching up. So I don't know if exaggerated is the right word. They kind of had to make him that powerful in order to tell the story they were going to tell. Whis is still the strongest without question. But Beerus, he kind of had to be stronger because the whole purpose of that film, the way I saw it, was to humble Goku, and it worked out. One of the things I loved about that movie that they got right was that Goku in the Buu Saga, to me and to a lot of other fans who I've talked to, is an extremely obnoxious character. He's not likable whatsoever in the Buu Saga, especially near the end. They did a great job of humbling him, bringing him down a notch so that he can build himself back up. And losing to Beerus instead of beating him like every other Dragon Ball movie, I think was the smartest thing they could have possibly done. Our pal Marcus Wright writes, do you agree that if Cell wouldn't have moved out of the way of Vegeta's final flash, would have killed him? Yes, I do agree. Vegeta put everything he had into that attack. He gathered a significant amount of energy. The entire Earth was shaking. It was pretty much like a last-ditch effort. I feel like Vegeta put pretty much almost everything he could into it. I mean, his kamikaze self-destruct move he used on Buu was obviously much stronger. Plus, he was a stronger fighter at the time. But without a doubt, before that, the Final Flash was the most powerful technique in the series, up until that point. I do think that if Cell had not moved out of the way, that he would have been annihilated. Or at the very least, been torn into a bunch of pieces. Maybe he would have put himself back together, but I don't think so. Plus, the way that backs up my theory on that is if you watch it again, it doesn't matter if you watch it in Japanese or in English, but you'll really see it in the Japanese. His reaction, both in the anime and the manga, it's both the same. He reacts like the way Toriyama drew it and the animators drew it. He has a look of just shock and fear, like, oh shit. So yeah, that's I think it would have taken him out. So Brian Lee writes, from a past video you mentioned Goku's Blue Gi that he wears at the end of Z, and you're literally the only person that's ever mentioned about that. LOL. I've been curious about that myself. How do you think Goku obtains it? In relation to that, in one of the credits in GT, he's wearing his Blue Gi from Z. He also doesn't have that GT tan, is holding the power pole, and has a tail. Pretty much a godlike appearance, in my opinion. I think the Blue Gi that he wears at the end of Dragon Ball Z, I was expecting him to get it in one of these movies. Now with Dragon Ball Super, I mean, maybe they'll show him getting it at some point. I don't know. We don't know that. But I was expecting, I actually was expecting when he trained with Beerus and Whis, because I had a feeling that, I knew after Battle of the Gods they were going to do another movie. I just knew when it blew up like it did, I knew they were going to come back and make another one. And I thought that Goku was going to train with Beerus and Whis. I predicted it. You could tell. You can just tell by the way the movie was structured and the way the things that were said. So I thought that the Blue Gi was going to be a gift from Beerus and Whis, and I thought it was going to be one of those things where they were going to tell him, remember where you came from, because he originally wore a Blue Gi in the early episodes of Dragon Ball. Obviously, that Blue Gi that he wore as a kid is not going to fit him as a grown-up. As far as how do I think he obtains it, I think somebody makes it for him, whether it be Chi-Chi, whether it be Bulma and Capsule Corp, maybe Whis. There's no real way to know, but I always found it interesting that at the end of Dragon Ball Z, he's wearing a Blue Gi instead of his traditional orange. Toriyama likes to play around with symbolism a lot, and he himself said that in Fakatsu no F, the reason why Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku, and Vegeta have blue hair is because when they achieve that form, they are the most tranquil. And I know a lot of fans were talking about how, the fire is like gold and, excuse me, yellow, and then red and blue. And a lot of people thought that maybe, that was the reason, like that's the color idea. But, and that's good thinking. That's very good theory. And maybe there's something to that. But Toriyama said it's because Goku's tranquil. Maybe the idea is that Goku at the end of Z is tranquil. There's a few times in the series where they kind of tell you like that Goku is at a new stage in his life in a way. And it's usually based on the clothes he's wearing. I'll give you an example. When Goku first appears at the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai at the end of Dragon Ball and he's got, he's grown up, that's the first time that we ever see the blue undershirt. Again, we're seeing that theme of blue again. I never really read into that too much, but it could be possible that that was symbolism stating that Goku is at a different level. And he certainly was, from when he was a kid, when he grew up, after training with Kami, for those years that he was up there. So that's one. Now, the one that a lot of fans don't spot, only the real hardcore fans pick up on this one. And if you're listening to this and you have not spotted this, don't think any less of yourself, because this is one of the things about Dragon Ball Z that, again, you have to watch the show again and again and again and again and again and be a complete goober like me to freaking pick up on this kind of shit. But so it's more my issue than yours. But check out when Goku arrives on Namek. One of the things that a lot of people never pick up on is that when he arrives on Namek after his training inside of 100, levels of gravity or whatever, and he's fighting the Ginyu Force and eventually Frieza, his gi that he's wearing on his orange, his logo, his emblem that's on the orange gi is actually his emblem. So when we see Goku wearing the emblem and Krillin and those guys, it's obviously the Kame Sennin emblem, the Turtle Hermit emblem from the Turtle School, because Roshi is his karate instructor, his martial arts instructor. And then later on in the series, when he trains with Kaio, Kaio puts his symbol on Goku's back. And, you actually see the scene where he does it. Well, when Goku arrives on Namek, that's neither one of those two symbols. That is the symbol of Goku. And what that symbolizes, the fact that he's wearing his own symbol, is that in his mind and in the mind of the writing team behind Dragon Ball, including Toriyama, Goku had achieved the status of Grand Master and therefore no longer needed any training. And if you really think about it, up until Whis, Goku never got any actual new master after that part of the series. Goku was, in his mind, and rightfully so, because we saw what he did to the Ginyu Force, a master of the martial arts at that moment. I think that's one of the coolest things, one of the coolest visuals, where he shows up on Namek. He's like, I've learned everything I need to learn. I know everything I need to know. And he kicks everybody's ass. It's just incredible, especially with the Kikuchi score. Because if you notice after that, in the Cell arc, he's training. He's doing mostly, like, he's training with Piccolo and Gohan at first, and then he's training with Gohan, right? And he's training with Gohan, but he's training Gohan. He's not being trained by Gohan. And then in the 7 years in between the Cell and the Buu arc, it seems like he's training by himself. They never really gave us any indication that he had a master, quote unquote. And then, of course, in the Buu arc, it was just him. Now, obviously, there's things like, for example, when he was on Yardrat and he learned the instantaneous movement, not the instant transmission, folks. I don't know where Funimation came up with that wacky freaking name for that move. Goku is not a vehicle. But anyways, the instantaneous movement, the teleportation, that's different because he's just learning one technique. They're not actually instructing him on the martial arts. His last real instructor was Kaio, and then he taught himself. So that's a little nuance that people don't pick up on that I thought is great, about Goku's evolution as a character. Of course, now that he's with Whis again, lo and behold, there's a new symbol. Not a coincidence. So hopefully that enlightened you if you didn't know about it. Stick with me and you'll know everything. So, And also, you mentioned the GT tan. I remember reading somewhere, and I don't. Again, this is my memory being fuzzy, so do not take this as gospel. All right. I remember reading somewhere that Goku is supposed to have a tan. That they actually screwed up in the animation. That he's supposed to have a tan, but that doesn't really sound right to me because there are some full color chapters of the manga where he doesn't have it. So that sounds like BS to me. I don't know what happened with the tan. I'm guessing there's like a new animation team that did it. I never really looked into that. But you're right in that it is very noticeable. That's a fact. Gunner Sports wants to know, here's my question. Shenlong is able to restore SSJ3 powers, revive every human being, etc. because it's within his power. But how come King Piccolo, who is weaker than Kid Goku, was able to kill him in one blast? So, and how strong is Shenlong? I kind of answered this in the comment section, but I'll answer it here for those who maybe don't remember, didn't see it. Shenlong's abilities, you're right about one thing. You're spot on about this. It's not made very clear where he gets his power from. It's supposed to be, it's explained that he gets his power from whoever the kami is and whoever created him. So, the Shenlong from the Buu arc is not the same dragon from Dragon Ball. Obviously, Dende's dragon is different than that one. Plus, Dende upgraded his dragon in the Buu arc. So, it's different. And the thing is about the dragon is that even though the dragon has extraordinary abilities to resurrect people and transport a large number of people and give Goku his power back and all this stuff, physically, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's that strong. So King Piccolo just blasted his ass and that was one of the craziest moments ever, yo. If you're watching Dragon Ball start to finish the right way and you see Piccolo kill the dragon and all that's left is like his arm, that's freaky, bro. It was awesome. And then you're like, shit, no more Dragon Balls. So, it's one of those things where he has extraordinary abilities, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's extraordinarily, physically powerful. That's the way I chalk it up, so there you go. Saiyan Baller. I've always considered Vegeta the strongest character up until the SSJ arc. Well, really, it's Beerus, because he's been around forever, apparently. Or really Whis, because he's really been around forever. But if you're talking about characters that we know of outside of the two new movies, if you're talking about just the original 42 volumes of the manga, technically it would be Frieza. Frieza would be the strongest character up until Goku becomes a Super Saiyan on Namek. Frieza is the most powerful character, so that's pretty much it. But Vegeta's definitely up there. I would say he's the second, maybe the third. I would say second, honestly. He's second most powerful. I can't think of anybody. No, I would say third because King Cold. See, there's another question a lot of fans are confused about. It's not even their fault. Some people think that King Cold, that Frieza is stronger than King Cold because we see more of Frieza. But the answer is no. If you watch the episodes, it's episodes 118 and 119 of Dragon Ball Z. It is said time and time again by all the characters. Tien says it. Vegeta says it. I think Piccolo says it too. They say we sense a high ki and an even higher ki. So whether or not King Cold was in his first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 12th form, in that form, he was stronger than Frieza because all the Z fighters sensed it. So in reality, let's break it down. King Cold, then Frieza, then Vegeta. That's the way I see it, because King Cold was more powerful than Frieza. Even though he goes out like a bitch, regardless, the characters hammered that point home in the show that he is more powerful. So, sell him the pussy. How big is your dick? Not very big, bro, but it's very distinguished. And then the last question on this edition, kind of a loaded question, but I'm happy to answer it. Jonathan Saavedra, if I said your name wrong, I apologize. What do you think is the worst dub of Dragon Ball Z? Now, I assume you're talking about English dub, because I haven't seen every dub. There's clips of every dub on the internet. There's the Italian dub. There's 15 different Spanish dubs. French dub is very popular. I've actually heard good things about the French dub. There's tons and tons of dubs, but if we're talking about just dubs in the English language, one of the ones that's notoriously known as being the worst dub is not done by Funimation. It is the Big Green dub. The thing about the Big Green dub is that it's hilariously bad, but it's not even that bad. At least not for me, being a fan of the Japanese version. it's bad because the people who wrote the dub, the scripting is absolutely terrible. And you can YouTube it. Look up Big Green Dub in the YouTube, and you'll see tons of clips of it. The people who wrote it, the script is just like, they talk with very bad grammar. It's almost like it's not even written by somebody who speaks English fluently. That's one of the things that was really weird about that dub. The voices, though, and you have to watch this dub with an open mind. You can't just watch this dub, wrapping your arms around Sean Schemmel's leg, all right? A lot of Dragon Ball fans do that, and yes, Sean Schemmel is the voice of Goku in North America, in the Western world, Northwestern world, pretty much, forever, right? No argument there. But if you watch it with an open mind, the guy who does Goku's voice kind of sounds pretty cool. He's got a deep voice. A lot of characters have deep voices. They kept the original Japanese score, which, as you know, I love. So there are good things about the dub, but the scripting is just notoriously bad, and that's the one where instead of using Saiyan or Saiyajin or Saiyan, or they don't call them that, they call them Space Warriors. So if you watch the Brawly movie in the Big Green dub, the legendary Space Warrior, and then Vegeta goes, "Don't you mean the Space Warrior of Legend?" It's so bad. It's so bad. Now, you know what? Now that I think about it, it is pretty bad. The script is just horrible. The voices are not that bad, though. So that's kind of cool. To me, though, the problem with the English dub, my opinion, is that I don't think we've gotten a really, really solid English dub until, and of course, I'm going to get tons of people disagreeing with me on this, and that's fine. That's cool. It's not really a big problem. I think the first really good English dub was the Kai dub. That's the one that I think was the best. And for different reasons, all right? Hear me out. The original Ocean dub, I felt, had superior voices at the time. Back in 1996, Scott McNeil, Brian Drummond, very talented voice actors. Scott McNeil's a legend. I mean, he did Piccolo. Ian James Corlette's another legend. Like, the show had incredible voices originally. The problem with the original dub of Dragon Ball Z is the notorious editing, where they edited 67 episodes down to 53, which was a big problem, and never even released an uncut one. They never even put one out back then. You couldn't get that show uncut. But also the changes in the script, which to me, that's extremely offensive as a Dragon Ball fan who watches the Japanese version, because now we've got a lot of misconceptions. And that's why I get very passionate, guys, when I hear people say things that are not in the Japanese version, because I don't like when the script gets changed. Like, I don't like when they say Bardock was a brilliant scientist. They literally made that up out of thin air. That's nowhere. They literally, I don't even understand why. And then later on, when they got to the Bardock special, all of a sudden they're backtracking. And that didn't stop with the original Ocean dub. It's just that in the Ocean dub, it was bad. One of the things about the Ocean dub is the fact that they were very scared to talk about hell, and so it was the home for infinite losers, and nobody dies, they go to the next dimension. That kind of stuff is an insult to my intelligence, and to me it's an insult to my intelligence even as a kid, because in 1996 I was 12 years old, and I think 12 or 11, and I knew what death was. There were other shows. There were other cartoons that talked about death, that spoke about death. So to me, doing that is insulting to kids. Kids are not stupid. And I've always felt that the original dub of Dragon Ball Z was extremely insulting to children, because we weren't stupid. We were not fucking stupid kids. And Ten Shin Han, the three-eyed cowboy, is gonna ride in the saddle, and all these terrible lines, just was horrible. But the voices were okay. And then there's the Funimation original dub, which has changed throughout the years, because as the series progressed, the voice actors got better. So if you go back and you watch the Ginyu Force episodes in the original VHS tapes when they came out, you're hearing guys like Sean Schemmel, and you're hearing guys like Chris Sabat try to sound like their predecessors, and that failed miserably. That bugged me. And then there's they got better as the series went along. They did. By the Buu arc, they've kind of figured it out. And then by the time they went back and did Kai, they were really, really good, in my opinion. I know there's an argument there. I'm not going to get into the argument about who likes what. It's fine. You can like whatever you want. My issue with the Funimation dub is just like my issue with the Ocean dub. The changing of the script. Instant transmission. You know, Hercule is one thing. I understand changing Mr. Satan because you don't want to say that on television. But, like, you know, things like when, like, Frieza, there's this really awkward scene in the dub where he's like, let me tell you in my native language that I'm going to kill you. Blah, 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 or says some shit. None of that's in the Japanese version. It's just they add, you know, ally to good, nightmare to you. That's not in the fucking, that's not what any of the versions say. It's like, again, the playing with the script it's a problem. It really is a problem when they go in there and they make changes. I don't like it. I do not like it because what ends up happening is it creates debates amongst Dragon Ball fans that should not even be there. Case in point, is Frieza an Arcosian? I've heard that one here on YouTube. Arcosian is a made-up dub term. There is no such thing as Arcosian in any other dub except for the English dub. Therefore, it does not exist. I don't give a fuck how much you love the English dub and how much you want to debate this. There's no debate in my eyes. If these folks come in there and they add shit, it never happened. Bardock was not a brilliant scientist, and the word Arcosian does not exist. It does not. It's made up. Ascended Saiyan, made up. They got better as they went along, you know. Now, the one that kind of bugged me is that they did it again with Battle of Gods with the whole Beerus said that he ordered Frieza to destroy Planet Vegeta or some shit. That's not in the Japanese version at all. He says, here's what he says. He says, I was going to blow up Planet Vegeta, but Frieza did it anyways. So, oh well. Like, it's not, he didn't say Frieza did it for me. He said Frieza beat me to it. And then he says, I never liked Frieza. I was going to take him out. That's what is said in the Japanese version. And again, if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, you need to watch the Japanese version start to finish at least once. You have to do it. Super Jaiyan is doing it, and he's finding all kinds of fascinating differences in the script. You have to do it. You have to, in order to get on that level, you have to watch it so that you understand exactly what was said and you're not fooled by all the mistranslations. So that's always been my problem, not just with Dragon Ball, but with any dub, is when they go in there and they take this bullshit creative freedom. It's not your show. You didn't write the motherfucker, and they want to add shit that's not there. So I'm sorry I went long-winded on that, but it's just one of those things where it's caused so many arguments in, you know, even to this day. You know, certain characters saying certain things that don't apply. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Like, and there's no sense in people being fooled, and I don't like it when people are fooled. Anyways, I'm done. Leave your questions below for the next one. Thanks again for sending the questions. Thanks for watching. I will see y'all next time. And if you haven't checked out the Big Green Dub, check it out, and you'll have a good time. You will enjoy it. If you enjoy it to have a few laughs, you will enjoy it. You know what I mean? And if you're going to watch it in English, bro, Kai is the way to go if you ask me. But some people love Z too. So hey, watch whatever you want. It's all good. Bottom line is we're all happy now because there's new Dragon Ball coming. So we'll catch y'all down the road.